Hey, good morning. Today is Thursday, April 30th, last day of April. Cannot believe it. Crazy. Okay, hey, a couple things very quickly before we get started. Just wanting to give you guys some updates. So number one, just to reiterate, if you are still holding on to your bread lab, get rid of it. I don't think anybody has had mold that grew on their bread. So you can go ahead and throw those away. Number two, continue to take pictures of your tree or your flowering bush or whatever it is that you're taking a picture of, at least through Friday. If your tree has stopped developing and you're just taking pictures of the leaves and that's it, cool. Take pictures, take pictures of them through Friday and then you can be done. If your tree is still developing, let's go ahead and continue to take those pictures because I want to see what it looks like when it's all the way done. And you can finish then at any point in time after Friday, whenever it gets finished. Those iMovies are due May 18th. That's a Monday, May 18th. And when we get a little bit closer after Friday, I'll create a folder for you guys for May 18th that you can drop those in for your homework. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you guys today. And today we're going to talk about, I want to revisit our energy pyramids. So I asked you guys to kind of go ahead and get started on that yesterday. I had, if you remember, yesterday I showed you my desert ecosystem animals, and this of course is my web, my food web, and it's a good model, and I don't want you guys to think that scientists don't use this model. They do. It's just sometimes it's kind of confusing. And in this scenario, when we're doing e-learning and I'm not here with you, face-to-face being able to help you with stuff, this is probably not the best way for me to present the information to you. So I took all of my organisms, and I'm asking you to do the same and put them in an energy pyramid, because that would be a little bit easier for you in this environment to understand how those organisms rely on each other for energy. So I took all of my organisms, including the bacteria, and I put them in the energy pyramid template for you. So the reason why obviously I'm using a desert ecosystem is because I don't want to do this for you. That's what I want you guys to do. But hopefully you can use my example and kind of apply that to the ecosystem that you have. So across the bottom, I've got my producers, then my primary consumers. Remember, these are called trophic levels. And so in level 1, producers, 2 is primary consumers, so on and so forth. So as you're looking at this, you also notice that I put my decomposers over here in the box. And I've already included the energy arrows for you, so you don't have to worry about that. That's just indicating that as these organisms die and start to decay, these decomposers help to break that down. And then this very big arrow that's bringing it back down, all those nutrients back down into the soil or back into the ocean for these producers to use in addition for food. Okay, so when I'm looking at my energy pyramid, then I can identify the individual food chains like this. I'll go ahead and start with the one that I had yesterday. That was just my simple one that I started with. So I've got a producer cactus. The grasshopper eats that, and the energy goes from the cactus to the grasshopper. Then when the lizard eats the grasshopper, that energy goes to the lizard, and then the energy will go to the snake and then go on to the hawk. Okay, so there's other food chains in this energy pyramid because essentially this is also a food web. So I could start with the cactus and grasshopper again, but this time I'm going to have the tarantula eat the grasshopper. So the energy will go to the tarantula and then to the snake and to the hawk. Sometimes in your energy pyramid, the predator will skip a level, and so the energy kind of skips one level, and so your energy pyramid could look like, or a food chain could look like this. So we'll start with the grass this time, and the rabbit eats the grass, so the energy goes to the rabbit from the grass, and then we're going to skip a level, and I'm going to have the snake eat the rabbit. And so the energy goes from the rabbit to the snake. See how it skipped that one level? And that's okay. That's all right. And then from the snake onto the hawk. what I want you guys to understand about this energy pyramid, and as you're trying to figure out where your organisms fit in the different levels, if you consider it from a predator-prey point of view, your predator will never be below its prey, and the predator will never be on the same level as its prey. So I could never have the tarantula and the snake on the same level, because the snake will eat the tarantula. So that's why he's got to be down below. You just keep that in mind, and look at what your organism eats. And then the one thing that I want to tell you, if in the marine ecosystem, if you choose that one, there are two types of fish. And look very carefully at both types of what they eat. One fish only eats zooplankton. And so that would be important to think about. The other fish eats more things than that, including other fish. So you cannot have both fish on the same level. One has to be above the other because it includes the prey as more fish. So there are types of fish that don't eat other fish. Not all fish eat other fish. And remember, not all fish are like little minnows. I mean, you could be talking about swordfish. You could be talking about tuna, which is a huge type of fish. And so just keep that in mind, okay? You won't have those two fish on the same levels. Okay, let me know if you have any questions about your energy pyramid as you guys are working through those. Let's go ahead and talk about biotic and abiotic factors in an ecosystem. If you go back to your Schoology, you're going to notice probably when you opened up this folder that I've got notes in there for you. And I just put this in here again for you. When I told you on Tuesday that you're going to have like a quiz, like questions on Schoology that you're going to have to answer. And I gave you those questions ahead of time. And so here is a note page for you where you can open it up. You can print it out. You can do just copy it to GoodNotes, do a split screen, listen to me, stop the video, fill it in, whatever you want to do. If I'm going to go in order of the questions for the rest of the mini lessons, okay? So today, the very first question is, what are two abiotic factors that would affect your food web? What I mean by that is explain how two abiotic factors would affect the organisms in the food pyramid that you created, okay? You're gonna have to tell me two. Let me give you, first of all, the definitions. You need to know what biotic and abiotic means. So first of all, anything with the prefix bio means life or having to do with life. So biology, biosphere, all of that has to do with life. Biology is the study of living things. So a biotic factor is all the living things in an ecosystem. And they're divided up into three categories, and you guys know these very well. There's producers, those are autotrophs. There's consumers, those are heterotrophs. Remember, autotrophs make their own food. Heterotrophs do not, so they rely on other organisms for their food. And then the last category is the decomposers. So literally everything that's in this pyramid that we see here, that's all the biotic factors in an ecosystem, okay? Remember, you guys, as you're taking notes, pause. Stop the video, take your notes, and move on. All right, so then what's an abiotic factor? Abiotic factor, anytime you have the prefix a in front of something, it means not, or the opposite of. So abio means no life. Specifically, that means it was never alive. Let me go back here really quickly. Biotic factors does not necessarily mean that it's alive right now. So if a tree dies and falls over and you've got this dead log in the middle of the forest, that's still a biotic factor because it was once living and it's a part of this energy pyramid, because as it decomposes, it gives energy to the decomposers, and then that goes back into the soil. So it's part of that energy cycle. Abiotic factors were never alive. They don't have any life in them at all. So they're all non-living components of an ecosystem. And they can be natural and they can be man-made. So there are 6 of them. There's air, water, soil. And by soil, that's anything having to do with the earth. So rocks, mud, anything having to do with the earth, okay? Sunlight, temperature, and climate. So abiotic factors can change based on natural and man-made scenarios. So for example, think about how a volcano eruption affects the organisms, the living, the biotic factors in an ecosystem. What about an earthquake? How would that affect, how about fires? You know, watching on the news, you can see the fires in California when they have their big fires. How does that affect the biotic factors in an ecosystem? As far as man-made, you know, when you see the word over here, climate, I know you guys immediately start thinking climate change and global warming. Remember, that's not all necessarily man-made. There are natural processes that release carbon dioxide in the air. And so if there's an increase in natural carbon dioxide or any of the other greenhouse gases, then that could affect the the biotic factors in that ecosystem. Something like overfishing or overhunting. Hunting and fishing are regulated for a reason, because they don't want people to deplete populations. And so what would happen if that was an abiotic factor? Also human population. As people expand and they build, what happens to the biotic factors in an ecosystem that's already there? And then also consider pollution. And pollution can be like trash, and it can be in the oceans, it can be on land, it can also be noise pollution. So if there's a highway that's built, how would that affect the animals or the organisms that are in that ecosystem? So lots of things to consider. Your main categories are, though, air, water, and with air, think about clouds, think about the different gases that are in the air. This would be the pollution and all that. Water, the amount of water, the quality of water. Soil, again, anything having to do with the earth. Sunlight, temperature, and climate. So let me give you an example here. So going back to your notes, just a reminder, we're looking at what are 2 abiotic factors that would affect your food web. I'm going to give you one, but I'm going to give you 2 scenarios for that one factor. I want you guys to think about and apply these for you. Now, I'm going to use it for my desert ecosystem. And so you could use the same idea, but you're going to have to figure out how it would affect your ecosystem. Okay, so of the 6, let's choose water. How would water affect the biotic factors in my ecosystem? Well, first of all, what if there's a flash flood? So, you know, there's sand, the gravel, the dirt. In a desert ecosystem, it's not necessarily just sand. Think about the deserts in New Mexico or in Utah. So it could be really dry conditions, and it could have gravel or whatever. But we've got producers that are cacti, and they do not have a very deep root system. So a flash flood could sweep all the cacti away, or at least a good portion of it. And so then there would be no food for the primary producers that rely on cacti. And so then there would be a decrease in population in those primary producers. So in my food pyramid, in my energy pyramid, the grasshoppers ate the cactus, right? So if there was no cactus, what would happen to the grasshoppers? And if there was no grasshoppers, what would happen to the other organisms? Think about that. You don't have to go that deep. Just kind of think, what are 2 abiotic factors that would affect your food web? How would they affect it? Obviously, if you are doing the marine ecosystem, there's no such thing as a flash flood. But you can kind of still consider the quality of water. So maybe think about pollution. How would water pollution affect the organisms in your ecosystem? Let me give you another example with a flash flood, okay? If there was a flash flood, let's say that it flooded all the burrows where the snakes lived. And so there was a significant amount of snakes that were drowned. Well, if the predator is gone, that means that the rabbits, the rats, and the tarantulas don't have a predator. So now, because there's nothing killing them, they're going to increase population. Well, if the rabbit, the rats, and the tarantulas increase population, what does that mean for the other organisms in the ecosystem? So see, they're all interconnected. Again, you don't have to go this deep, and if you just want to write something like this, just kind of shorthand, and be ready to explain that on the questions on Tuesday. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions about that. Here's what I want you to try and get done today. Try to finish your energy pyramid. Finish organizing everything, including, go ahead and look up, if you haven't done so, look up your decomposers for your ecosystem and get that done. Tomorrow, I'm going to encourage you to finish your food chain. If you're ahead and you want to get it done, go ahead and do your food chain. You're just going to get a different piece of paper and spread that out. Make sure that you include the arrows and the arrows are going the right direction, and also make sure that you're including your sun. All right, you guys, I'm going to stop that. All right, you guys have a great day. Don't forget to take a picture of your tree and let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you later. Bye.